Doing really well today, Jack. It is a Monday afternoon and first day of the work week, so really getting into it today. But just finished up with Monday and didn't go too bad. Just plugging it away. Dog days of summer,
Yeah,
just enjoying it. The days aren't too long when I get to look forward to the weekend and spend some time at the beach, run around outside. Played some ultimate frisbee on Saturday. All
right.
good things, though, man. You get to play some frisbee golf lately?
Yeah. On last Friday, I went up to New Hampshire, took the day, went and played
Ooh,
3 courses.
hot day.
It was very physically taxing, but I've got a tournament here in 2 weekends that I wanted to make sure I got some practice in for. So it was fun. It was good. I played well. Seems like I'm peaking at a good time, I guess.
Yeah.
And yeah. I mean, life is good, man. Life is good.
Good
So
stuff. Yeah, Saturday I was playing some beach ultimate frisbee. Man, though, like it's getting into like real summertime here out in California, where sometimes it
right.
feels like we're one season behind, where like June is really muggy like spring, and then you get into July and it actually starts getting hot like summer out here. And
Yeah.
so it was actually getting real hot. And so we're down right on the beach, right on the sand, playing some ultimate frisbee. Man, I could not be out there more than like 4 or 5 minutes. My feet were cooking. I'm just bare feet, of course, running around in the sand, but
Right.
getting cooked. I could not be running out there long, but I made some plays, scored a couple times. It
There
was
you
good.
go.
It's so different because when I first started playing, it was just like around college, like just with a couple other people with pickup. But these are like ranging from anywhere between dudes that are like 30 to like 60 years old and have been playing for 30 years. And so
Right.
there's me running around with just like little to no experience actually playing
Yeah.
competitively and just being big and tall and trying to play strong and physical. And it was good though, pretty good. It's really
Yeah.
funny when people like make contact with me because it's like running into a brick wall for them half the time. Oh no, wait, sorry. Woman runs into me and I'm just like, didn't try and make contact. Sorry about that hit. We were on the same team with some friendly fire. Not so
Oh
fun for
man,
her. But yeah,
making
it's all
making
fun.
that making that ultimate highlight tape for you, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Uh,
let's move into just a few things here briefly going into this week and this past weekend. Home Run Derby is tonight. It's looking like, as always, it's a really stacked field. Every single one of the people in they do this seeding thing now, where they seed everybody 1 through 8, and man, I think anybody can win it. I mean, everybody just has so much power and can hit the ball so hard. Nick, who you thinking? Who you think is going to take it home tonight, though?
so for me, I'm taking Juan Soto. He's just a big, strong dude who I think can hit the ball really well. And like in all honesty, there are just so many dudes like you're saying who are in the MLB right now who can just crush it, just hit the ball really hard, knock it really far. We're going to see a really competitive night, I think. And he'll be my pick. I don't feel really strong in that because I feel like again, ton of strong competitors, but we'll see
Mhm.
how it goes. I'll be watching tonight. What
Yeah,
about you?
I'm. I will say that I am fairly confident in my pick. I'm going with Pete Alonso, the polar bear from the New York Mets. Man, it just seems like he was bred to be in home run derbies. He's won it 2 years in a row. Last year he did it with so much swagger. He just stepped up to the plate, is just nodding along to the music the whole time, chewing his gums, singing it as he's doing it, just so relaxed, just chilling, and then bam, 450-foot moonshot. Granted, it was Colorado, so the balls fly a little bit farther, but still, I until I see him lose, I think I just gotta go with the polar bear, man.
Got you. Got you. Like your pick, picking somebody dominant who's been on a streak and seems like a good pick to me, man. We're going to see a competitive one and it's going to be really fun seeing guys just in a chill environment, being able to crush the ball. Not really any pressure, just knocking it, having a fun time. It should be really good.
Yeah, home run derbies, man, they're so much fun. Like the NBA dunk contest at this point feels
Oh,
kind of lame, but even though it used to be just like awesome, but the home run derby every year is awesome. I mean, I love, and you just look at tape from whatever. Like I love seeing clips of Ken Griffey Jr. with the backwards hat at Camden Yards in Baltimore, just hitting it off the warehouse every single time. I mean, home run derbies are dope. One of my favorite parts of the All-Star break.
Definitely, man. And compared to the dunk contest, like the dunk contest right now, it's just that like it's such an injury risk, I'd say, for players, especially a lot of the young explosive players. Like they can do some crazy dunks. We see them do some crazy dunks in game and like just have crazy bounce. But going out of your way, just taking a ton of run ups and trying to make a bunch of crazy plays on some of these dunks, it's a health hazard for some of these young guys. And definitely when they're getting more wear and tear on their bodies, playing a lot of games, trying to stay healthy when they're young in their career, it's tough. And also, like, you can only do so much when it comes to a dunk. Home run derby, it's about distance and hitting the ball hard. Right. But like creativity with something like a dunk contest, it's different. You can only bring in a car so many times before people get worn out by it, you know?
Right. Yeah. It's with the NBA dunk contest, like, and this sounds weird saying, but it's gotten to a point that it's too gimmicky. And granted, the NBA dunk contest is like part of that is that it's gimmicky, but it's gone too far. Like you have, guys like wearing superhero masks and dunking, and you've got guys coming in, and it's just every year you have somebody that, jumps over one of the 7-footers in the league. And it's like, oh my gosh, that's amazing that he did it. But we see it every year. Like, I don't know. But continuing on in Major League Baseball, there's been some interesting stuff that's been happening going into the All-Star break. The Seattle Mariners have won 14 games in a row going into the break. They set the record for the most consecutive wins going into the All-Star break. It was previously 10, and they set it at 14, and they look really, really good right now. Came storming back after a not so great start to the season, and now they're around 500. I think they're looking good. You might know a little bit more, given that you are out on the West Coast, of what the AL West is looking like right now. But what do you think?
Hearing a little bit more about the Seattle Mariners again, like you're saying, they're just coming on strong right before the break and turning it on at the right time. They're getting their stride, just like everybody else should be doing right now, and so we're seeing them do a good job. As we were talking about before we started podcasting a little bit today, though, we also have the Orioles who really hit their stride a little bit before the break.
Yeah.
And you hearing about that, what were you thinking? Because, like, this is a big deal for a team that has not been very good for a while.
The Orioles have sucked for a very long time. And I can relate to Orioles fans, given that I was a Pirates fan for so long, in being a small market team with not a lot of money and just being perennial laughingstock of the American League or the NL League or the National League, for the Pirates. And yeah, I mean, it's what they've done is they're these young guys that they keep getting, they keep drafting and drafting and drafting. They just had the first overall pick. Within this past weekend in the draft. But these guys are finally coming to form and playing in the majors. I mean, I think they won like 10, 12 games straight. They just playing ball really, really well. And the crazy thing about baseball is going on a winning streak like that is mad impressive because of how much just randomness happens in baseball. In a football season, it is crazy and is considered an upset when the Jaguars beat the Colts week 17 to keep the Colts from making the playoffs. In Major League Baseball, the Yankees are going to go to Baltimore however many times they will in the year, and they're going to lose a couple games. That's just how baseball works. So to go on a long winning streak like that is really, really impressive. So yeah, they're back at 500, which, like, being at 500 this late in the season, it's like the first time in like who even knows how long that the Orioles have been in that position. And with the coming on of them, there's a lot more question as to who might be those American League wild cards now. So
right, and especially it's a good sign though coming on strong this late in the season. Like, even if they're not going to make some noise this season, having a lot of young guys who are able to go on a winning streak like this and who are able to turn it on this late in the season and getting a little bit more of these reps and having something to play for when they're this young. We may see them come on next year stronger earlier to where this late in the season they're not going to be 500. They're going to be coming on stronger. They're going to have a better record and they're going to be prepared to be playing for something, having a good seed and doing something next year. And playing for next year isn't always fun, but that's what you're getting to see when you have these teams that are learning to fight for something this year. You're going to see them fighting for something next year. And it's really a good sign, especially for a team that hasn't been good for a while and is really young, and having that up and coming talent's a really big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they look good right now. And I always find it interesting with sports like basketball, baseball, hockey, where the All-Star or Pro Bowl game or whatever it is in the middle of the season compared to the NFL where it's at the end of the season. And you have teams, like the Mariners have won 14 straight and went to the All-Star break. And there's a chance that they keep that fire going and they come out and win 5 or 6 more games right out the gates, or there's a chance that they come out and lose 7 in a row. With sports, with leagues where the All-Star event is in the middle of the season, you see a lot of times that teams lose their stride going into that. I remember, like the 2012, 13, 14, 15, around that time, when the Pirates were making the playoffs as a wild card, there was the last series they had before the All-Star break was a 4-game series against the Cardinals, who were in first place at the time, and they won 3 out of the 4 games, and they were like pushing and looking like, and it wasn't just then, it was leading up to that too. They were pushing, looking like they might compete for the NL Central, and they came out of the All-Star break and just nothing, So we'll see how these teams like the Orioles, the Mariners, the Yankees, the Dodgers, what it looks like here these next couple of weeks after the All-Star break here.
Yep. We definitely want to see some of these teams that are not necessarily the perennial contenders. We want to see them after they hit their stride these last couple of weeks. We want to see them continue that stride and really make some noise, ruin somebody's season who's really looking for a clean start to the playoffs. And we'll see if they can do that.
Yeah. Let's move into some basketball a little bit briefly. So the summer league, I'm pretty sure is concluded at this point. There might be a couple more games, but we've talked about it. Talked about some of the guys that we have liked, some of the guys that we're a little concerned about. But what we have to talk about, unfortunately, because I don't even know why they're doing it, but summer league championship rings.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Do you have any reason why?
Man, the thing is, it's a push and pull kind of thing for me, because a lot of players in the summer league, just a lot of these guys aren't really going to get opportunities in the NBA. They're not going to really get to make their mark, play a lot of minutes, and prove who they are in the NBA. And especially, you're going to see just so many of these guys flame out and not become anything for their career that's memorable. But like, for a summer league, guys that'll turn it on and really try and show what they are, you're going to see a lot of guys playing their heart out, scoring really well, playing really well for a summer league. And even if that doesn't translate into the league, guys that are putting in that effort, putting in that time, and really showing out, I think they deserve a little something. Maybe not something as extravagant as some of the rings we're seeing for these summer league rings, but man, I think they should get something just to show that they put in some crazy effort. I'd be more for maybe almost like a summer league MVP, somebody who was like crazy during summer league and really showed out, somebody that maybe proved something to be able to get that contract going into the season and like show something that they may become 6-man of the year kind of material or real starter level material. But like for an entire team, especially because like the bench for an NBA finals team is going to be not a whole summer league team may not even make the bench for an NBA finals team. So like, man, The end of a bench for a summer league team is going to be really bad. And getting some of these guys some rings is going to be, it's going to be like, man, I don't even remember them playing in the summer league and they got a summer league ring. If you look at it years from now, But in all honesty, like those guys, we're not even going to be talking about them in years. So I don't think it's a big deal. And I do think the guys that show out do deserve something. But these rings be looking nice. They look expensive, man. I don't know what they're actually made out of, but like they look like legit rings. Like these are things that you want. Yeah.
I think my concern with adding a summer league championship ring to the whole thing is that implies that the summer league isn't competitive enough and that people aren't playing hard enough when all those guys are playing for a shot to make an NBA roster, at least make a G League team that they can keep working. G League players get paid and keep working and hopefully get a 10-day contract when somebody goes down, something like that. But like that's what they're competing for. So then to be like, no, we need a championship ring implies that people aren't actually competing, which I just think is bogus.
Right.
I especially think it's bogus that here we are, the Portland Trailblazers Summer League team was joining Damian Lillard on Instagram Live, showing off their championship rings, and Damian Lillard is sitting there like, these guys have a ring. You know, it doesn't matter what kind of ring. These guys have a ring, and you know, I'm sitting here without it. But I don't know.
Yeah. It's I do agree with you that I feel like these young guys that are trying to prove something in the summer league to make some noise, get some 10-day contracts, something, play in season. I feel like they're not the ones that may necessarily need incentive. I feel like the league does maybe need to incentivize the teams for trying to win some of these games. Because a lot of these teams, like the Utah Jazz, their summer league team had one drafted guy on it. 9 out of the 10 of them were undrafted. There was one second rounder, I believe, on the team. Like they're not trying to win summer league games because like nobody's trying to win games in the summer league. But like if you incentivize it for the team and see teams maybe play smarter rotations and do more than just trying to develop guys and actually try and play some competitive basketball, I don't think that will be bad for the sport. I would just be worried about maybe injuries if you're trying to play like legit good players. Like if you see a Chet Holmgren playing like crazy numbers of minutes. I know the summer league's really short and you're not playing a lot of games, but you never know what can happen. So I think it'd be better to incentivize the teams rather than the players to a degree.
Right.
But trying to incentivize teams to win games is kind of finicky because they're multi-billion-dollar, million-dollar corporations, and it's kind of hard to incentivize them with something like this, I would think. But
yeah, no, I agree. I think maybe, you know, because the NBA has a draft lottery, maybe if your team wins, your probability you get, I don't know how they calculate all that, but your probability goes up a little bit. I don't know, but something. I'm just not a fan of the rings. That's personally.
I got you.
I briefly mentioned Damian Lillard, and this is a great segue to talk briefly about Damian Lillard's contract extension. He signed a 2-year, I think 122 maybe, $1 million extension to his contract, which you reminded me in our pre-show meeting, it's not like his contract is expiring after this upcoming year. This is like 2 or 3 years down the road that this extension kicks in, where he's going to be making like $60 million a year. Like, what? This is, I don't know. This is absurd to me. Damian Lillard is box office. He's one of the most dynamic point guards in our league when healthy, for sure. But if you're the Blazers and if you're Damian Lillard, you know, Lillard is all about, no, I was drafted by Portland. They took a chance on me. I want to be here. I want to win here. But you're handcuffing yourself to get guys to come join you to bolster a championship level roster. Like, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. I think this might come back to hurt them more than help them when the time comes.
Yeah, I feel like it's definitely putting him in a sort of Kevin Durant kind of situation where like Kevin Durant has 4 years left on his current contract and he signed that extension within the last year. Man, it's crazy to think of a guy having this long of a contract still to play out and want to be traded. Like we could see Damian Lillard in 1 year really want to be traded from a tanking Portland Trail Blazers team. And seeing a dude who just signed an extension like the one we're seeing, I believe it's 2 years, 120 million, just a ridiculous amount of money, especially like we were saying, it's not coming up this season, next season. This is 3-4 years down the line that this is going to be playing out, and he's going to be old. He's going to be in his age 35 and 36 seasons, I believe. And Damian Lillard right now, 60 million a year, maybe for a year or two. But down the line, do we think that he's actually going to be worth that by the time he's playing that out? I don't think so. And he's trying to handcuff himself in Portland. I just don't think it's a smart idea by him or the Blazers as far as for winning. But I do think for him, it's obviously the right financial move. Making that much money late into your career, that's a crazy amount of money, even in NBA standards. That's an insane amount of money. And Dame deserves every single dime for what he's had to put up with in Portland. It's not like it's been poor management or anything, but man, they just have not been able to break through. That one conference championship against the Warriors, that no team would really have a shot against that team. So Dame's just had it rough in a rough Western Conference, I would say.
Yeah. I think also you made a good point about, if he wants to get traded at some point down the line, who is going to trade for him with that amount of money that they would have to pay for him? I mean, that depending on what he's playing, that could be like a Russell Westbrook situation right now, where any team that's going to trade for Russell Westbrook because of the size of that contract, they're like, Los Angeles, we need at least one first-round pick to go with it. I mean, any mock trade that I've been seeing, regardless of not Brooklyn with Kyrie, because that's different, but even just trade
one or two picks. It's one or two at least, yeah.
So it's we'll see what happens. Yeah. We'll see what happens down the line.
Which, in all honesty, might be better for Dame if Dame's being traded with picks attached, and the other team then would be giving up less compensation, maybe. But the thing is, because his contract's that big because of salary matching reasons, they're still going to have to give up a redonkulous amount of players and just a ridiculous amount of assets, I would think, even for an old, expensive Damian Lillard.
Right. Yeah. So we'll see how that plays out. But it is time to move into something that we were texting about, and we are super looking forward to the first. We'll call it annual. We should do this every year. Yeah, this will be good. The first annual Skyline Sports Podcast highlight reel draft, where basically how it's going to work is Nick and I are going to go back and forth, and we are going to pick a player whose highlights we just love to watch, and if we could basically Desert Island, you get to pick 5 players, highlight packages. That's only players you're allowed to watch. And we're gonna do this, and we're gonna have some fun.
Yeah, yes, sir. And Jack, I have a trivia question for you to see which one of us gets this first pick in this first draft we got here.
All right, let's do it.
Because as we know, Jack here is a Cleveland Browns fan, I thought a wonderful Cleveland Browns question would be very fitting. Knowing the Cleveland Browns, obviously, they got Sean Watson, and they got a really talented team around him. But as far as the Cleveland Browns, they have recently had a really good drafting team and have drafted really well as far as in the NFL draft, early round picks. They've done a really good job. So recently, obviously, in the last year, they signed Myles Garrett to a massive contract, and they signed David Njoku recently, and they were both first-round picks. And so both of them were drafted in the 2017 draft, and since then we've also had players like Denzel Ward who have gotten a second contract. But previous to Myles Garrett and David Njoku, who were the last Cleveland Browns first-round draft picks to get a second contract from the team?
Wow.
I looked back through, and man, there are some ugly names that y'all drafted in the first round.
Oh yeah. Well, there was. I mean, everybody's seen the meme of the dude with the Browns jersey that he just keeps adding names of quarterbacks to it. So, and most of them were taken in the first round, though Deshaun Kaiser was taken in the second round. But, all right, let's see. This is like Sneaky Hembo on Get Up on ESPN. My gut instinct, and I'm gonna go with it, is Joe Thomas.
Oh man, you're about 3 years off, man. Y'all were not that bad at drafting for that long. I will give you the list of players that were drafted between Myles Garrett and the last dude who got drafted and got the second contract. Phil Taylor, Trent Richardson, Brandon Weeden, Barkevius Mingo, Justin Gilbert, Johnny Manziel, Danny Shelton, and Corey Coleman. And the one before that, 2010 NFL draft, it's Joe Hayden. The former Pittsburgh Steeler. I wasn't even planning that. I had to look back through the drafts till I found it, and it happened to be a Pittsburgh Steeler legend. Maybe not legend, but really good player for us for a couple of years. Joe Hayden, 2010 to 2017, having just that big of a gap is crazy.
That's very
With that, I will get that first pick. And man. And the thing is that 2017 draft that y'all finally turned it around, y'all had a bunch of good players. David Njoku, Myles Garrett, and Larry Ogunjobi all in that draft. Just bunch of good guys. And y'all had traded away a lot of picks. I actually looked in that draft. There were a good number of picks that y'all traded away there as well. So y'all made some good picks, though, especially early, of course, with a couple of first rounders.
Yeah.
And for my first pick for our first annual highlight reel draft, I'm going to go with one that we were talking about earlier, and easily the guy that I just love to watch. It'll definitely got to be Barry Sanders. Man, his highlight reel is crazy. There are two highlights that always come to mind when I think Barry Sanders. I think about him putting the Patriots player in a blender, number 42. He's just a whirling dervish when he just puts him in an absolute blender, making him look one way, then the other, looking like Dez Bryant, making the guy be right in his blind spot. It was just horrendous. And then against the Cowboys, when he runs into the pile, breaks backwards out of it, and then is just running full speed, and you see the D lineman looking around like the play's still going on.
Yeah.
Those two plays, man, are legendary highlight reels, and Barry Sanders' stop and start ability makes him my number one pick.
That's a fantastic pick. Barry Sanders, I mean, I think it was against the Vikings is the one that I'm thinking of, where he literally like jukes the entire team, some guys multiple times. Like it was insane. That's a fantastic first pick. And I like that you're going old school. I also am gonna go old school for my first pick. So with the second pick in the first round of the Skyline Sports Podcast highlight reel drafts, I will be selecting Allen Iverson.
Oh man,
I could watch AI tape all day long. I mean, I remember going back when I was a kid and watching on our TV on YouTube clips of highlights from playoff performances with him. And I had my little mini hoop that hung over the front door. I'd be like watching it, then I'd try to recreate it. I mean, he was just filthy. The stuff that his finishes around the rim are just insane. He had that one later in his career when he was at Denver where he goes up against, I forget who they were playing, but a forward, a big dude, gets like basically hits and just falling to the ground, just like throws it up with his right hand, just bottom of the net. And he's like laying on the floor. There's the iconic one where he bagged this, like when the Sixers were still wearing the red and the blue, red jerseys, blue numbers, blue letters that just say Sixers. He still has the box cut. He doesn't have the cornrows yet. And he crosses up Michael Jordan. I mean, that's a classic welcome to the league sort of moment for him. But yeah, Allen Iverson all day.
Just a tremendous pick. Just one of the most exciting players I can remember, especially for just such an exciting time in the NBA. Man, he was an awesome player. And I wouldn't necessarily say carried because it's not like they had no talent on that team that made it to the finals with him. But man, he He was the driving force. He was the heart, the soul. He was everything on that team. Man, Allen Iverson, a fantastic first pick, and I will
I mean,
give
one
you
of
that. Fantastic.
one of the most iconic clips of early 2000s basketball is that NBA Finals where he hits that jump shot, Tyronn Lue trips and falls, and he steps
Steps
over
over him.
him in front of the
Oh.
Lakers bench. I mean, just filthy.
Just
Filthy
ultimate
stuff.
disrespect, really disrespectful. And it's the good kind of disrespect. Where
Right.
on the court for them, oh my God, he'd be hating it so much. But for us, the fans, it's, oh my gosh, tremendous.
Whenever anybody tells me like, oh my gosh, Kyrie Irving is like he's like his highlights are just insane, I always say go watch Allen Iverson. Like, don't get me wrong, Kyrie Irving's tape is good, but AI's been doing it for far longer. So
This is facts. I will definitely give you that. And for my second pick, I am going to go with same era as AI, completely different player and position. I'm going to go with Shaq. Shaq, the highlights are just so different because me, I'm a big dude. I'm 6'2". I just like that power, that strength. The thing is, when I think about a center, when I think about a powerful center in basketball, I think about a dude that can just back somebody down and just dominate at the rim. And the thing is, I think of Shaq. I think about him just backing up on a dude and just nobody can do anything about it. You can't block the shot. You can't try and steal it from him. You can't even get around him to get near the ball. And then by the time you know you can do something about it, his freaking waist is in your face and you can't do anything about it. And of course, he's going to sauce on you and be like, oh no, I fell over. And you're on the ground, just spilled all over the floor like freaking spaghetti. Man, Shaquille O'Neal, my number 2 pick, a different kind of highlight maker than AI, but I think definitely worthy of this draft.
For sure. I dig it. I mean, there's the classic where he dunks on the dude, pushes him to the ground, and runs down the floor. The dude gets up and tries to chuck the ball at him. I mean, Shaq just dominated like nobody ever has and nobody ever will. It's just, yeah, that's a great pick. All right, time to look at my draft board here and see what I want to do. All right, second round, pick number 2, Skyline Sports highlight reel draft. I'm going to be selecting Devin Hester.
Oh,
Devin Hester. For those of you that don't remember Devin Hester, it's because kick returners and punt returners don't normally last very long. But not just in the pros, but at college and at Miami, some of his returns were just insane. Once he got to the NFL, he played for the Bears for a while. Had a short stint with the Falcons, I think, right before he retired, and what he could do returning the ball was just incredible. The speed that he had, the acceleration that he had, the way that you'd see these things like you were talking about with Barry Sanders running into that pile where he just looked like there's no shot that he gets around this, and boom, there he is streaking down the sideline. I remember the Super Bowl where the Bears played the Colts, opening kickoff he took to the house. I mean, just incredible highlight tape, in my opinion.
Man, his just pure speed, because straight line speed, he didn't even run the fastest 40 we've seen. But when returning the ball, when he had a head of steam and a couple of blockers in front of him, nobody could stop him. He's just running straight. And if you don't get in front of him, he's just going to be able to turn the corner and he's gone and you can't really do much about it.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great pick. The only thing I would say is like, man, his speed's great. His acceleration's great. But like, quickness, breaking dudes' ankles, that's not who he was, but that's something I like about my highlights. But man, just a tremendous pick, like you were saying. Great player, great highlights. Definitely the greatest return man of all time and worthy of the Hall of Fame, I would say, as much as any special teamer ever. I definitely can get behind Devin Hester. So man, football is my love and my life, and there's so many dudes with so many different football highlights. And I'm trying to figure, do I go with the big and powerful guy again, or do I just go with the guy that has just all the buttons? And man, I think I'll go with all the buttons. And it makes me so depressed because he's been so injured in recent years, and you've heard me utter his name. But I'll go with Saquon. I'll go with Saquon Barkley, just because we're not just including professional career. College football for him, Man, when I watched Saquon coming out of college, everybody said he's a surefire Hall of Famer. He's that dude. He's got the gold jacket on already. He's got the stats made for himself. And the thing is, you watch his college highlights, and as a returner, as a receiver, not necessarily as a wide receiver, but receiving the ball, he just had all the buttons. If you watch somebody play Madden, has the stiff arm, has the juke, has the spin move, Saquon had all those buttons. And you look at him, he's built like a Greek god, and he really played like it when he was in college and early in his NFL career. He didn't necessarily have the longest career highlight package that I've ever seen because of where he's at in his career, because of the injuries. But as far as the buttons, like when I started loving football, it was Le'Veon Bell and some of the other Steelers players 2017. And they had the buttons, they had the stiff arm, they had the juke move, they could run over. And the variety of ways that Saquon could break you down and that he could be used, it didn't matter whether it was a screen or whether it was out of the backfield. Like he could do whatever he wanted, whenever he wanted, was as fast as anybody else on the field, as strong as anybody else. And that's why Saquon is my third pick.
That's a great pick. I being from Central Pennsylvania, know Penn State football a little too well, unfortunately. But I remember the year before it was the Saquon show, like he might win the Heisman. I was at the Penn State Minnesota game that went into overtime, and he scored the game-winning touchdown. And yeah, he was just filthy. That's a great pick. All right. Again, looking at my draft board. What am I thinking? All right. Round number 3, pick 2 in the Skyline Sports Podcast Highlight Reel Draft. I will be selecting Vince Carter.
Oh,
Vince Carter has the filthiest, nastiest dunk highlights I think the NBA has ever seen. I mean, the stuff that he did, and that's including dunk contests too. Like that was before, we were talking about it earlier, that was before it got super gimmicky. He never did anything with props or anything like that. He would just jump and do something with the ball and dunk it with so much ferocity, and it was crazy. I love watching VC dunks. My favorite wasn't even in the NBA. It was in the Olympics. He's playing for Team USA. I forget who they were playing, but Steele starting to go the other way. USA gets a steal, pass it to him, jumps over the dude, and I thought the back was coming down.
Man.
I mean, I thought it was
game, man. Vince Carter.
I love watching his clips, his highlights. Vince Carter.
The thing is, the dunk package, like, man, even though we're in a three-pointer league now, and even if it's 2022 and the three-pointer reigns supreme and it's just a dagger for players, man, seeing a dude dunk a ball, whether it's a bigger, stronger dude or whether it's a smaller guy that just has bounce, anybody in between, seeing a dude dunk a basketball is just insanity in the membrane and so much fun to watch. I definitely can get behind that. Man, looking at my draft board, a little bit of variety, so many good guys. And man, I think I got to throw this one in. I don't think you're going to pick him, so I could sandbag him for my last pick. But I got to go with him just because when I first started watching hockey, he's that dude where I asked a friend of mine, Mike, I had never really watched hockey before college, and so we're watching this game of hockey, and you're seeing dudes throw shoulders into each other, and you see them passing the puck around, and you see just the puck movement and how that's integral to the game and how it's really difficult to score. You got to set something up and be able to do something to score really well. And I said, well, the thing is, like, if you could score in transition, really be able to get like a fast break or something to get some easy points, it would be so much better. So I was like, hey, Mike, who's the fastest dude in hockey? Who's the guy that can just skate past anybody, just the speed, the transition ability? Like, who's that dude who can just skate by anybody? And he said, "Oh, it's McJesus. It's Connor McDavid. It's that dude." And so for my fourth pick, I got to go with Connor McDavid. He's something different of a hockey player than I think anybody's ever seen. Where the thing is, when I think hockey, when I think like scoring in hockey, it's setting up around and then you get cutters moving in to be able to get a good pass. But Connor McDavid, his highlight package is just him taking on something that you'd see like Kyrie Irving take on, where he's doing a Euro step, a spin move, crazy handles, crazy dribbles, and getting to the rim with a crazy finish package. But think about the equivalent of that breaking down like 5 dudes, but in hockey, where you're not able to make a jab step one way, cut another. You're not able to like dribble quite the same way. In hockey, like you're on skates, you're moving fast, you're moving in a way that people can kind of guess what you're doing. And he's able to get past 5 dudes and make them look ridiculous. And so that's why I'm going with Connor McDavid for my fourth pick. Definitely the craziest highlight hockey package as far as scoring the puck as I've ever seen.
I dig it. That's a good one. I was not going to take that one. So
You
did not need to be concerned. All right. So round 4, pick number 2. This one's kind of cheating, but I don't care. I'm going to go with Bo Jackson.
Oh.
And I'm going with Bo Jackson because I get his football tape and I get his baseball tape. And what that dude could do on both fields is just incredible. I mean, he was hitting, just tattooing the ball in Major League Baseball. And he would then go and average like 5.5 yards per carry in the NFL. I mean, he could do it all. But one of my favorite highlights of his is baseball. There's a fly ball in the outfield, and he catches it and he runs on the wall and not just jumps up and kicks off of it like 5 or 6 steps on the wall and then comes down.
Yep.
He just like routine fly out, and he's like, "Well, why run into the wall when I can run on the wall?" I mean, that dude, and like his strength, you know, what I would make sure I could included that is when he struck out and broke the bat over his head.
Yeah.
Like just what that dude could do is insane. I think he might be the greatest athlete of all time. Because there are other athletes that did both sports. Deion Sanders is a great one, and one that also has a good highlight package, but he wasn't consistently playing baseball on the field in the majors and doing what Bo Jackson was doing. So I got to go with Bo Jackson.
Man, I can definitely get behind that. When I think Bo Jackson, it's bigger, stronger, and faster than anybody else, just anybody around him. There was nobody who looked or could play any sport like Bo Jackson. Yeah. Like you were saying, some of the baseball highlights aren't even like crazy highlights as far as hitting the ball or like making plays like that. Snapping the bat over his head, running up the wall like that. Like those weren't sports highlights. Those were inhuman highlights. Those were no normal human being should be able to do or like be able to have their body move or work that way. And Bo Jackson was just out of this world. He was an alien. I just imagine his workouts as being something like James Harrison's workouts, where it's plates on top of plates and chains and like He doesn't necessarily even have to like work up a sweat just in a hoodie. I think he could just break any sort of records lifting that anybody had ever set. I think he's a crazy great pick. And man, if the injury hadn't happened, like it sucks that we have to bring that up of what could have been. But in his short career, just the ability to produce highlights in such a short time, he was clearly something else. And definitely a tremendous pick by you. I definitely can get behind Bo Jackson. You got to bring up Tecmo Bowl when he was just like, you couldn't play against him. He could run in circles and nobody could catch him. And the thing is, it was like real life where he could just run up the sideline and people are moving in slow motion past him. It's not in slow motion. He's just running that fast where dudes just were not anywhere near him. And I can definitely get behind that. A great pick, a great player, and man, just a tremendous guy. Man, I still got a variety of guys left on the board, and I don't know what I. The thing is, I want to go with my heart, and because highlights are in the eye of the beholder to a degree, where
Right.
like, so what if a dude can jump like 4 feet off the ground? Like, yeah, that's really dope, but like, what I love is seeing dudes that are wearing my colors that are making plays for my team, and man. Antonio Brown, when I first started watching football 5, 6 years ago, he was just built completely differently. Where I think he's so underrated as the best he's 5'10", the best small receiver of all time. Steve Smith Sr. is 5'9", but as far as like under 6 foot receivers, I don't think there's anything better than Antonio Brown. Jerry Rice was like 6'1" ish, and like I don't think there's any other receiver under 6 foot who could play in the same league as Antonio Brown. I think he was that good. And his highlight package, man, that 2017 season when I first started watching him, the thing is, like, when I think football highlights, you think a juke move, a stiff arm, you think stuff like that. What I think of with AB is the toe drag swag of just the body control and ability to make plays that looked like they weren't in. They weren't He didn't make that catch. He didn't do that. And he had magnet hands. His toes were magnetized to the ground, too. You could not get that man to miss a ball. He was incredible. And of course, one of the other plays that I feel like everybody thinks of with Antonio Brown and his highlight package is it a kick? It's a punt return, I believe, against the Browns. And
This just came up in my Instagram feed earlier today. I watched that game live. I was like, dude, what are you doing right now?
The funny thing is, if I remember, Antonio Brown didn't even get a flag on that play as far as
no,
like,
he did.
illegal.
He
The
did.
thing is, I don't think it was like even properly enforced, where I think that it was like offsetting penalties or something on that play. It was something weird. But we both know the play we're talking about scared the hell out of Pat McAfee, being the great punter that he was. But it was just kicking the punter in the face, I guess, trying to hurdle him, but it looked like a karate kick. It looked like it was intentional. He was trying to kick him in the head. And like, knowing Antonio Brown now, that probably was intentional, but
yeah,
man, still a crazy highlight that you couldn't make up. Nobody's done something like that before since then. Nobody's even tried something like that before since then.
Well, because it's stupid.
I
Nobody's
agree.
in their right mind to do it. The thing is, at first, it like in real time, it was like, oh no, he's trying to hurdle and just didn't get all the way over. But then they slowed down and he jumps up, and I think he realizes I'm not going to get clear this guy, because then he pulls his leg back and then extends forward right into his face mask. It was the weirdest thing, most bizarre thing I've ever seen.
Yep. But man, I got to endorse my man Antonio Brown. He was just on another planet when he was in his prime. That stretch of, what was it, 2013 to 2018, he was just unguardable. He was 5'10", wasn't the fastest guy, ran like a 4.48 40. But man, he could just play. His hands were magnetic, and the toe drag swag, balls that looked like they were just thrown away for nobody.
Yeah.
He could just make crazy catches that were insane. Julio Jones versus Antonio Brown, they were easily the two best receivers of the era, and Julio Jones could not compete with Antonio Brown on a lot of those days. And that's just crazy to think about, in my opinion. But the Steelers colored glasses are coming on. I know.
Yeah, I think they are.
You got the last pick here, and man, I'm actually very curious where we're going, because there are a lot of good dudes left on the board.
Yeah, we will do honorable mentions after, and not really describing, well, briefly describing, just name and description, just because obviously, like you said, there are so many and so many that we aren't going to get to. But the one that I'm going to do, I'm shocked you didn't take it. I thought, especially when you started talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers, I thought for sure you were going to take this one. And I'm surprised he's still available here in the 5th round. But with the second pick of the 5th round, I'm going with Troy Polamalu.
I was gonna. Oh man.
I mean, that dude, what he did was just insane. And it was so many different things. There was him timing the snap and jumping over the line. There was his crazy interceptions. Everybody thinks of the one scoop, but he did that multiple times. Hit returning the ball. I love the one where he like looks like he's about to lateral it, and then Michael Vick just like bam knocks him down. And I remember watching that game live and him getting yelled at by Tomlin as he walked over, like, dude, just stop, just go down with the ball at that point. But yeah, especially being from Central Pennsylvania and living in a house with Steelers fans, watched a lot of Steelers football when I was younger. And Troy Polamalu, I mean, he was the man. Anybody that was anybody wanted to be Troy Polamalu. So,
man, I have regrets now. I have regrets. The thing is, when I think Antonio Brown, I think when I first really became a diehard football fan, when I think Troy Polamalu, nobody could do what he did. Nobody, not a single person I've ever seen make a highlight anywhere near like he could.
Nope.
Man, it's just such a good pick, and it makes me so sad. We still got a bunch of dudes left on the board, so I can run through the rest of my board, and then you can talk about yours.
Give me like 3 honorable mentions here.
Yeah. I got you. Man, the first one that came to mind from college football, Tavon Austin, his highlights at West Virginia were ridiculous. Like, players look back and his ability of just being so fast and so quick. The thing is, he became a returner in the league, but man, if they could have used him like today with a lot of the quicker guys in the screen game and in the more creative ways, he could have really been something. Man, besides that, we brought him up before, but Deion Sanders, man, as a defensive player, as a cornerback, no highlight package like Deion. No cornerback has ever been as prime time as Deion Sanders. He just did it all. He was such a great player. And last, I'll give 2 more quick. One, Usain Bolt, like he's just very different from every other athlete we're talking about. But the thing is, as big and tall and long as he was, when you saw him run the 100 or the 200 meter, he's just running past dudes and looking back, smiling, laughing at them as he's just streaking past them. And I can't think of another athlete that running in the Olympics would just make dudes look stupid like that. In a room full of other extremely fast dudes, he just was that much faster on another level than anybody else. And so he was just crazy. And a throwback sort of one, my last one is definitely got to be, what the heck's his name? I was looking him up earlier. He's on my board. 1 second. Oh, man, Earl Campbell. There are 2 highlights, I believe. One that really stands out in my mind because he's like a really old school Derrick Henry, where just powerful and fast and strong. There's one where he runs into a dude. His helmet goes right into the dude's chest plate, and the dude just like keels over. He just hits him full speed, runs into him head first, and just knocks the dude down. And then there's another one where he gets hit by a dude and just runs through him, but his jersey just tears off, and it looks glorious from a movie where he's just running around and the jersey's being torn away as he runs. And man, Earl Campbell was just ridiculous in the late 70s, early 80s. There's a reason he won 3 straight Offensive Player of the Year awards. He was crazy back.
Yeah.
What about you? I'm sure you still got a lot of dudes I didn't name because I had a couple of like weird old school.
I also have some obscure ones. And I'll run through them very quickly. First off, Cristiano Ronaldo. I'm not a huge soccer fan, but I can appreciate what that man has been able to do with his feet and with the ball. I mean, some of those bicycle goals that he scored, it's just he's just electric. So definitely, especially to represent our soccer fans, gotta have CR7 on there. In the same vein as Usain Bolt for you, I've got Michael Phelps. His ability,
fish.
Seriously.
Oh.
He's incredible. I mean, the 2012 was London and they lost. The 2008 in Beijing 4x100 meter freestyle team that he was on, and he swam the first leg, and then I think of the end when they win, and he's just going nuts, like screaming as loud as he can. But I mean, you're the most decorated Olympian for a reason. What he could do
He
is
was just
unmatched.
so dominant. He was just so dominant in his particular craft. And man, you're very right. Very much in the same vein. You're right.
Nobody got in a pool with him and thought I might have a chance of winning. They were swimming for second for sure. This one is a close to home one from my time as a Pirates fan. Pretty much 98% of baseball fans will not know who this is, but I want to encourage everybody to go and look up Sean Rodriguez defensive highlights for the Pittsburgh Pirates. That dude was a walking highlight reel on the field. I mean, what he could do, some of the catches he would make in the outfield, he would play literally every position. He'd make plays in the outfield, in the infield. So he would play shortstop from time to time and do some cool stuff. There was one game I remember, it was because we didn't have the Pirates network, but whenever they would play like the Saturday night baseball on Fox game, we would watch, and they were playing the Cubs, and they started him at second base. It was the first time he ever played second base in the majors. First inning, there's a ground ball with a guy on first, ground ball up the middle. He goes over, reaches across with his right hand, or his left with his left hand because he's right-handed glove hand, grabs it and does one of the little shovel out of the glove over to the shortstop coming across, who throws it on to first. I mean, just gorgeous, gorgeous stuff. Not many people. Pirates fans will remember him because he was a really, really fiery guy. Was always there when the brawls were happening, but great one. For me, two more I've got real quick. From the disc golf world, Simon Lizotte. To anybody that doesn't know him, go look him up. That dude throws hole-in-ones more often than anybody. He made a video that was it was 10 reasons why you should buy his newest signature disc, and for each of the 10 reasons, he got a hole-in-one on a different hole with that disc. I don't know how long it took him, but still, I've only gotten a hole-in-one twice in my entire disc golf career, which is consistently almost 2 years at this point. So I don't know how he does it. It's insane. Also, just like crazy, stupid high shots that doesn't make, like, the basket's right in front of you, just throw it right in front of you. Does this crazy high, weird fly stuff. Just so cool. Definitely recommend. There are a ton of compilations of him out there. And my last honorable mention here, real quick, is actually might be, well, you did say Saquon Barkley, but other than that, probably the only one that's still in the league right now, in whatever the league is, and that is Quentin Nelson.
Oh,
that dude blocks like nobody I've ever seen. I mean, and it's not just his tape at the Colts, some of his tape when he was at Notre Dame, which I despise Notre Dame, but I have to appreciate
pancake blocks. It was just pancake blocks.
It was insane. All the time. The best one is he's like at left guard or left tackle on the left side. He doesn't have anybody in front of him. He looks, he sees a dude coming at the blind side of the quarterback. He steps over and bam, down immediately. We gotta show our offensive linemen some love. So definitely had to put Quentin Nelson. So.
Definitely the same vein as like Trent Williams right now for the 49ers. We're just getting out in front of a running back or just like blocking a pass rusher. There's nobody better right now in the league. Those two are the premier guys in my opinion. And man, so many good players in the league, but the offensive linemen deserve it. Absolutely. So I will wrap us up here. It has been a pleasure, guys. Thank you for coming to episode 3. And yeah, for the draft today of the Highlight Reel Draft, first annual one. And just really happy to have you guys here. It's been a great night. Happy to have you. And we'll see you coming on the next episode.
Peace out, everybody.